So I decided today to talk about something that I feel has been really poignant and very pertinent, at least for me, and that is inclusivity, and more specifically, the inclusivity of care. And I hope you will all indulge me in a little bit of humor as I get started here. So I want to invite you all to a place called Care-a-Lot. Does anyone know what Care-a-Lot is? It's, it's where the Care Bears live. Care Bears are a group of bears that go on caring missions that teach children positive ways to care. And each bear is a different color, and they each have a belly badge or a symbol on their tummy. And there's also the Care Bear cousins, which are different animals, a lion, a dog, an elephant. And the Care Bears live in Care-a-Lot, and the cousins live in the forest of feelings, and together they live in the kingdom of caring. Central to their kingdom is what's called the care meter. There's a rainbow on one side and a rain cloud on the other. And when the indicator is on the rain cloud, when something sad happens or there's something bad happening in the kingdom, they go on these caring missions. And they have to battle villains like Professor Coldheart, his assistant Frostbite, Auntie Freeze, and Wizard No Heart. So Care Bears go on one of these missions to move the indicator back to the rainbow side so that the kingdom is full of care. They do this by using their ultimate weapon called the Care Bear Stare, which is a beam of light that radiates from their collective tummy symbols and forms a ray of love and good cheer to restore care to the kingdom. Care. Seems like just another four-letter word, doesn't it? But is it? There are several definitions for the word care, but one that particularly sticks with me is this. As a verb, care means to feel a sense of concern or interest about someone or something, to feel affection for someone, to feel something. One of the first classes I took here at ILIF was Intro to Pastoral Theology and Care, and surprise, surprise, we talked about caring for others. And the very first time this class met, we were to share an experience we had when we felt cared for. And I can remember one of my classmates, who was Korean, making a comment that he felt cared for when he was just beginning to learn English, when people were accepting of him and compassionate towards him. And they helped him learn, because English is not easy to learn. And that really got me thinking. Care is universal, or at least it should be. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Care is care. And we should care for people all the same. I mean, think about God. Think about Jesus. He cared for everyone, men, women, children, Gentiles, Jews, even those who wronged him, and people like Nicodemus, the woman at the well, Peter, and Judas. In Isaiah 46, verses 3 and 4, it's more about how God cares for us. It says, "Listen to me, you descendants of Jacob, all the remnant of the people of Israel, you whom I have upheld since your birth and have carried you since you were born. Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am he. I am he who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you." But Jesus didn't just care about everyone. He loved everyone, and sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two. There are no conditions for care, nor should there be expectations. And you don't necessarily have to love someone in order to effectively care for them. I've discovered that with a woman in my church that I'm interning at right now. She's kind of the proverbial thorn in everybody's side, and I know that a while ago she was going through a rough time, and so I decided to just gently let her know that I was there and that I cared for her. And it opened up so much communication between the two of us now, and she's a whole different woman with me. And we meet people like that all the time, and we meet people all the time, and new people come into our lives frequently, working in hospices, hospitals, and churches, in law or law enforcement. You know, you get clients and patients and parishioners, and you care about them as you work with them. In education, you meet students, and you care about them and their learning. Even the not working folk. You know, maybe you're on a sports team or in a book club, or you do other extracurricular activities. You meet people in all of these settings, and you care about them. I mean, of course we care about them, right? But we don't necessarily love them, at least not right away. Well, there are many ways we can care for others, It doesn't always have to be in some big, possibly expensive way. Sometimes simplicity is best. Another one of my classmates and I had gotten to know each other pretty well over our first quarter here. And in one of our class meetings, she came in upset. I gave her a hug, and then we sat down in our chairs to get ready for class. And a little while later, she decided to tell me what was wrong. I simply told her, it's okay to feel the way you do, and gave her another hug. She talked a little bit more, and I just listened. And she thanked me, and we exchanged one more quick hug, and that was it. There was no expectation from her of me and caring for her. She just needed a hug and someone to listen. Sometimes just being present is enough. Just listening to someone is enough. The ministry of presence is incredibly valuable, and that can include silence. I heard a story of a patient that was raving at one point in time about all the wonderful things that his caregiver had said, and the caregiver didn't actually say anything. Sometimes we can hear the most amazing things in silence if we just allow the silence to be there. Now, that being said, of course, there are many other ways to care for people. Small things like sending cards. People love cards. And on a bigger scale, out in the community, the drives that happen, clothing drives, food drives, toy drives. And that's for people we don't even really know. But we still genuinely care about them and their well-being. Thinking even bigger in mission work, stuff or in our community and elsewhere, stuff like yard work, building, painting, kind of like a Habitat for Humanity type thing. Here specifically, it's in things like the events during gathering days, or the various student groups that are active in the community here. We do those things simply because we care about our fellow students and our community. Caring is so important, not just to us as Christians, but to us as human beings, especially in these turbulent times. I've seen so much pain, confusion, exasperation, exhaustion lately, and it seems that we've forgotten to care for each other. But we are called to care for all. We are called to love all. I wanted to share with you a few lyrics from two songs that have really resonated with me lately. One is called Jesus, Friend of Sinners by Casting Crowns, and this is just some bits and pieces of it. It says, "O Jesus, friend of sinners, open our eyes to the world at the end of our pointing fingers. Let our hearts be led by mercy. Help us reach with open hearts and open doors. O Jesus, friend of sinners, break our hearts for what breaks yours. Help us to remember we are all the least of these. Let the memory of your mercy bring your people to their knees. Nobody knows what we're for, only what we're against when we judge the wounded. What if we put down our signs, crossed over the lines, and loved like you did? You love every lost cause. You reach for the outcast, for the leper and the lame. They're the reason that you came. Lord, I was that lost cause, and I was the outcast. But you died for sinners just like me, a grateful leper at your feet." It's a very humbling song for me that teaches us to be like Jesus, to show care and compassion and love unconditionally. We were the lost cause. We were the outcast, and he loved us anyway. He cared for us anyway, and we should do the same. The other song is called Go Light Your World by Chris Rice, and again, I'll just briefly give you bits and pieces. There is a candle in every soul, some burning brightly, some dark and cold. There is a spirit who brings fire, ignites a candle, and makes his home. Carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the hopeless, confused, and torn. And later it says to seek out the lonely, the tired, the worn, and the helpless, deceived, and poor. Hold out your candle for all to see it. Take your candle and go light your world. Because we are a family whose hearts are blazing. So let's raise our candles and light up the sky, praying to the Father in the name of Jesus, make us a beacon in darkest times. I read a book a couple of years ago called Here If You Need Me, and it's a memoir. The author is a chaplain for search and rescue workers in Maine, and I wanted to share one of her experiences. So I showed up not so long ago in a small northern Maine community. An elderly woman, an Alzheimer's patient, let's call her Corrine, had wandered off. The wardens established a command post at the fire station, and by the time I got there, it was swarming with men and women in green uniforms. Some of the volunteers could lay claim to a certain level of applicable expertise. There were emergency service providers of various kinds, local firefighters, off-duty sheriff's deputies, and town cops, and wood-savvy members of the local rod and gun club. The volunteer Maine search and rescue dog teams, those middle-aged hobbyists with their fine, trained dogs, had arrived in force. Then there were the less obviously skilled, a half-dozen elderly backwoods guys in torn flannel shirts, a gaggle of college students with unfortunate piercings, some overweight elks, and a Shriner or two. The members of a local equestrian club appeared with their horses. Also present were the owner of a stained glass studio and her domestic partner, a retired state trooper, and a state senator with his teenage daughter in tow. The high school varsity soccer team abandoned its late summer practice to come out to search, along with a bunch of U.S. Marines who have been cooling their heels in Bangor awaiting transshipment to Iraq. And, arriving in a van with wire mesh reinforced windows and under the direct supervision of a guard, was a group of men in neon yellow shirts, inmates from the Down East Correctional Facility, a prison primarily, though not exclusively, reserved for sex offenders. Those members of the community too old or obviously out of shape to search set up shop in the firehouse kitchen and commenced to cooking. The woman who's missing has a son named Jim. Jim comes back to the firehouse with a heavy heart. He has scratches on his cheek, twigs in his hair, pine needles down his pants, and his mother is still nowhere to be found. Yet, he takes in the scene before him, mops the rain from his face, and smiles. "Look at this," he says. "Look at this. This is incredible. The firehouse is filled with people. The old coots in flannel shirts, the middle-aged dog handlers, and the college students with piercings are sharing American chop suey with the state senator and his teenage daughter. The U.S. Marines are comparing blisters with the soccer players. The sheriff's deputies are breaking bread with the convicts. Game wardens share Jell-O with equestrians. And the stained glass artist offers the retired state trooper an oatmeal cookie. In a little while, they'll go back out and search some more. But for now, they are here together, joined in community, bent on the common purpose of love. Everyone in the world is here, the lost woman's son exclaimed. It's a miracle. The story really warmed my heart to think that all these different people came together to help a man find his mother, and they didn't know either of them. But just because they cared and wanted to find her, they helped. One of our two greatest commandments is to love your neighbor as yourself. And if we want to care like Jesus and love like Jesus did, like all the people in this story did, and like the Care Bears do, we have to be inclusive. We have to care for everyone, regardless of race, gender, sexuality, age, vocation, etc. So today, I invite you to find your inner Care Bear, though not necessarily with a tummy symbol. And let's all move to care a lot together and light our candles. Let's monitor our care meter to make sure that we're always over the rainbow and that we're always on a mission and working together to light our world and expand God's kingdom of caring.